J Webb. We're here to talk about your new research diary, The Crown is Your Birthright. Tell us some more about this.
Okay, yeah, the crown is a birthright. It's something that I've been looking into, researching to myself. It's about my inheritance and about our family's inheritance. Our distant family, and I sure know from the research that I've done, it's for everyone's family. Yeah, so it's just that I'm just showing that behavioral pattern, that we all need to, you know, get get to, because it's something that we have to do. We have to behave in that way. So that's really what it's mainly, about, because it's about our rights, to be king and queens, to be, part of that line. Yeah, so that's it really. That's what it is about.
Okay, so in the first chapter, chapter 1, you talk about in the beginning inheritance. Give us some more details about that.
Briefly, yeah. So yeah, in the beginning, so with every behavior, with every line or every lineage, there's a beginning. And talking about the beginning, it puts the physical and the spiritual and the soul all come together, where you can actually see the transformation, from a supreme inheritance, from a celestial inheritance turn into a terrestrial inheritance. So you can see the the evolution or the growth, of being a man, and being the top, performer and behavior in inheritance, and you can see that at perfection. So that's the where the beginning is at perfection, at our perfection, at our core, at our art. That's the main, that's the beginning. That's what the inheritance, the beginning inheritance is all about.
Okay, so now let's move on to chapter 2, Old Kingdom BC inheritance.
Yeah, so we there's so many different ways. There's so many different scriptures. There's so many different evidence. Talking about kingdom, and even now we're living in a kingdom. For instance, I'm in the United Kingdom. And that is a representative of like kings and queens, and obviously we have a queen at the moment. So this is the actual, you know kingdom, and because it's coming from the beginning, we're going into the beginning of our kingdom, when we were once kings and queens, because everybody, within, the kingdom, on earth, were once kings and queens. So just starting at the kingdom, the old kingdom, because that is the beginning.
And moving on to New Kingdom inheritance. What would you say?
Yeah, so that is like a continuation, because we're inherited of the behaviors. So because obviously it's a kingdom, within kingdom there are virtues. And with that virtue you have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is the kingdom: beauty, victory. You have splendorness. You have foundation. What I'm saying, you have mercy, and you have power. So this is the inheritance that is continually as a behavior, because it's finding out as the behavior that is inherited in me, to be able to know again, the kingdom and how I behave in the kingdom. And that's why the inheritance is coming into the new kingdom, because time is ever changing, because human beings have a tendency to want to change the perspective of things. So you just have to, follow your inheritance to whatever perspective, that new person that is leading have in mind. So you could, always, know where your inheritance is coming from, even if it's being altered or changed.
Okay, Very interesting. And we move on now to Kushite Empire, High Priest, 100 BC to 350 AD inheritance.
Yeah, and so this is again based on you know being in Africa, because the beginning inheritance would give you the details to that part of the chapter. So obviously we all know about the Kush. Most of us know about the Kushite Empire, that really deals with culture and things like that. So within our culture and things like that, we have these national archives or gallery, and we are all part of this empire, which it's still continue the inheritance today through different countries, just like Ethiopia, you know um again, just in England itself, because it is continuing the kingdom. So as you can see, so it's just a, and even in the military, all of the constructs of society, that kingdom is still being passed down, through different institutions and activities.
Okay, and now we can move on to chapter 5, the Ptolemaic Kingdom BC to 305 BC to 30 BC inheritance.
Yeah, so the that empire, the Ptolemy, it's an empire where, again, it's the spread of the spread of that time, because again it's still in the new ages, and obviously things are being changed. So it talks about a president. It goes mostly taught about that break, that time period to the time period that is mostly speaking about, where a lot of changes have taken place, and these changes that have taken place is why we are here today, and the behaviors that we have for today, in terms of knowing where we're coming from, knowing the beginning of our behaviors, and so that is what's mainly based on.
Okay, so let's move on to chapter 6, Destruction, Dynasty, Inheritance.
Yes, one more. Yeah, so yeah, just had to fix that for a moment. Hopefully everyone's still hearing me, even though it's being recorded. Yeah. So when because it's obviously is a destruction of our minds at that point in time. It's a destruction of a knowledge to a certain group of people. It's a transformation, a change in behavior, who is behaving. So that part tells you where we our behavior that got destroyed, and yeah, and that helps us bridge the gap, to bettering our behaviors, to connecting to the right part of ourself, that behavior which is supreme, that behavior which is our inheritance, that's our perfection, that's our right to be perfect, the freedom of expression to the highest point of view. So yeah, that in that point there is is very crucial to changing our behaviors, and knowing how to behave in terms of what we should be, and how to the height of our of our behaviors and inheritance, our attitude, and the things that we do.
Okay, moving on to chapter 7, the Flavian Dynasty AD 69 and 96 AD inheritance.
Well, so that is where the concept of language it is meant to have an expression, a behavior, a meaning. So, this is where, the acts, the Bible is really, or the doctrines of the kings is really being observed by their observer. So those that represent the king in his literature, in his publication, have showing the nationality, the national behavioral aspects, and the the institute of writing aspects. So that puts the activity of how even through the changes or the destruction, how we still keep our inheritance and how we know that it's true, because the behavior is is removing our principles, as in family, connection, and obviously this keeps that alive. That part of that chapter, that inheritance keeps it alive. So that's the type of behavior, that's the searching and the solution part, where you connect it, and okay, this is a certain you know inheritance, a certain root or culture.
And now moving on to chapter 8, House of David, King of Judah, inheritance.
Yeah. So, and this is that's what I say, the behavior is still being represented nationally, and you know due to the national, the aspects of it, it directs to the continuation of literacy, like language, translation. So where things are being published, they're still being, it's still the national inheritance is still being kept by those that are in the societies of that. So they grow in the development of nations, and the true aspects of their behaviors is all embedded in that point, and the continuously war or fight for victory, in terms of your natural expression, your inheritance. Yeah, so to keep that behavior alive in its supreme sense, in its highest sense. And it's all connected to still, to keep that family alive, to keep that, those, principal values alive in regards to behavior and success and winning.
Okay, moving on to chapter 9, Ethiopian Empire, Kings of Judah, 1270 to 1974, inheritance.
As you see, so it's so that, as you can see, the lineage is being carried, because like I say, there is a beginning, so it's a continuous effect of developing and just keeping your inheritance alive. So this is the things that finding out my inheritance, is able to actually put the dots together, where there is we know there's a country, there's Ethiopia, and the type of you know lineage it has, the type of um trees it has that connects to other countries, the type of behavior, who we can see how that's representing the kingdom in the rightful way, where they're reminding us about our inheritance, our behavior, our crown, our jewel, our main jewel, our self, our inheritance, the ground, and I mean the behavior of mother and father, the principal nature, the principal nature of the old kingdom Mayat, where again it's the order is in this term, and the behavior is in this terminology, to have a greater success, to have a continuance, abundance of inheritance, within the whole understanding of oneself. So it's a continuation.
Moving on to chapter 10, Ottoman Empire, Turkish, from 1299 to 1922, inheritance.
One moment. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah, so yeah, just hopefully it's the record. Well, if you're double digging.
Oh yes, so it's chapter 10, Ottoman Empire, Turkish, from 1299 to 1222 inheritance.
Yeah, yeah,
So sorry, 1922 inheritance.
and this is also another big time in our inheritance. When the term slavery was inherited to a certain group of people or transferred, so it's being moved to a certain group of people, certain terminology is being changed, and yeah, and the erasing of, like, it's trying to remove the inheritance in one set of group, which continues to fight and to carry their family. It's all about, again, for the family, the honoring their mother and father, that kingdom which was given to them from the beginning. And that's a lot of the breakup. So those that have those that are using different type of behavior, and those that are not using behaviors, and it's being you know turned into a weapon to reduce one's one's culture to not feeling their superior inheritance. That's it.
Moving on to chapter 11, Acts of the English Inheritance.
Yeah, so that's so see this, because this is where I'm living, and the opportunity that was given to me to get to here is like, it has a connection, and finding the connection deeply, and this is where understanding, I'm a imperial crown resident, you know yeah, so I'm an imperial crown resident, and this is the things that I'm fighting for. Sorry, just yeah, that's the yeah, yeah, just no, yeah, get what the play. Appreciate it. Yeah, so yeah, it's the importance of yeah. What the question again? I was the first to be honest.
Yes, chapter 11, Acts of the English Inheritance.
Yeah, really, that's so. This is the part of it where it's like where we are. Obviously I'm in, and this is it's like the start of it for me, where it's all started, because I'm here, and seeing the behaviors of here exposed me to you know um you know all the possibilities, and looking for my inheritance and trying to find the highest of it, the best behavior of myself. It turns to evolve in through the English inheritance. I probably to where I am, I'm able to find it out. So that is the brilliancy about it, and realizing that it's the the corruption, the all of the lies that has been told, about race and things like that. That behavioral ignorance that has been picked up by other groups of people. Say people as in culture, as in family, that there are certain type of color. So, but it's just there are certain type of tone where, again, you know, when you say the white man, you could say the leper. The leper is my brother. Because this is how it was in that time. It become leprosy, and the change in pale. This is just a part of what I'm saying, the lies that has been told to take away their to divide their own culture, and to use the supreme inheritance. The whole changes. So obviously we're just making it all one where everyone is sharing that equality. Obviously because it's the truth, and the truth is inherited in everyone. And from my finding out about my roots, my lineage, I'm saying my inheritance. These are the type of knowledge that I've picked up. So when I look at someone, I look at them truly for what they are. For being a part of you know my line, my blood, being a part of the inheritance, so that we can get to my peace. Yeah.
Okay, now we get to chapter 12, Acts of the Parliament of Great Britain.
Yeah, so it's these are transfers that, so we're keeping these things on record, like because it's a publication. We're moving to the publication world, the evidence world, where once you know the evidence, how would you behave? So the acts is showing you as how it sounds like in real acts. Something that you have to act out. You have to meet because it's a publication. So when you have a publication, you meet with the author, and where you get the authorities from to do all of these things, and it's gonna give you clear behavior of how these acts was put out there. So this is a part of the behavior that you are inherited to do. Also, when it's about your inheritance, you have to like meet people face to face, talk about these things, like protest your enjoyment of it. Don't be trespassed against. Don't be discriminated. What I'm saying? This is your human rights. You have freedom of expression, and expression. You could see it all around us. We have freedom of all of this. So why not enjoy it? Why not behave in that way to enjoy it? So yeah, that's chapter 12 for you.
And finally, we have chapter 13, Ethiopian Constitution of 1931 Inheritance.
Yeah, so so this is where things was reinstituted to this present day. So it's a more present day. This is where we at, you know. So this is that reawaken to you to knowing where you're coming from, that to have that knowledge. It's there that the kingdom not broken up, but the behavior as so to find that behavior is in that time, because human rights. So even to all the acts of this present day, it's all embedded in there. It's all embedded in that chapter where it's just it helps you to get back to the beginning of yourself, to the supreme part of yourself, because it's a continuous reminder, of this type of behavior that you have to do. So it's just that I'm participating in my inheritance, and I'm, like I said, developing that behavior to have that perfection of supremacy to what I see myself, and that's a living soul, supreme being. So if I see myself as that, I know that okay, I have to, change my behavior to fit that. Because in my mind, yeah, but like I say, because we have been inherited, confusion, not wanting, all of the things, that negativity that push you away from being your true self, that we have to administrate ourselves in that right way to regain that confidence, regain that behavior to then pass it on to the children, so that they could have a better inheritance for the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lancelot Jr Webb, for coming and speaking about your new book. We appreciate it, hearing about it very much, and look forward to reading it. So it's The Crown is Your Birthright, the Researcher's Diary. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you. Peace, everyone. You don't know. Yeah.